Hi folks, this is Dave doing a VR for Eric over at 4Leaf Cards. And I've got a layout of cards here that shows my history in card collecting. This is the 1957 cards, was the first pack of cards I ever opened. Got that pack from my parents on my birthday in 1957. As I recall, Dick Donovan was the first card that I pulled out of the pack right on top, and these other are cards from that pack. I'm not sure which are the other cards. These are pretty ratty and beat up, and I've got a few more 57s, but I'm not positive which ones came out of that pack. But anyway, that was the only pack I got that year. I didn't have money to be able to go out and buy cards, nor was I mobile at that time to be able to do that. So the next year was 1958, and I started collecting in earnest then, finding pop bottles and beer bottles alongside the road. Went up to the grocery store and they would buy them from us for pennies. Of course, packs of cards were only nickel, so that worked out fine. I was not too kind to my cards. These are rather run over by a truck division. Also was not too proud to indicate which teams they were on. Here showing Roger Maris as a Cleveland Indian. I believe this is rookie card. Later was traded to Kansas City A's, and then later to the Yankees. And I must have cut another card up and put a insignia on his hat. I have most of the good players from 1958, and along the way I collected cards from other pre-1957 and 58. Here's an Alvin Dark that marked up several times as his teams and position changed, and another card that again run over by a truck. Next year, 1959, again I've got most of these cards that were all pack pulled by me. That little sticker there was put on by my sons as they would look through my cards when I would allow them to look at them. Here, $13. I'm sure this was like in the 1980s sometime. The next set I collected was the 1960s. Again, I have most of the Hall of Famers from that era. I have some cards from 61, not sure why I didn't collect too much there, but 62 was a big year for me. I collected most of those cards. I ended up loving those a lot. However, those cards were all lost. I have no idea where they went. I have all the other cards, but these were somehow missing from my collection. So more recently I've been trying to reestablish that collection by buying them. So here's a Musial that I more recently got to replace one that I had back in 1962, and of course I had to get Dick Donovan, who was the first player I ever pulled. Then I left card collecting. I collected a little bit 63 and 64. I collected football cards of all these years as well. Have all the football cards from these years as well. And then my son bought me this, gave it to me for Christmas. I don't know how long ago, 5-10 years ago. A card of Fred Merkle, T205, and not certain why he gave me Fred Merkle. Fred Merkle, of course, was famous for the bonehead play that they all said. So it wasn't really proved that he did or didn't, but if you want to look up Fred Merkle and Google him, and kind of interesting. But anyway, he gave me that card, and I've got it hanging on my wall as sort of the start again to my new collecting. And thinking about what I could collect sets and whatnot. And then I thought, why don't I collect fathers and sons and brothers? And I knew of Johnny and Eddie O'Brien, who were from Seattle. That's my hometown. They played for Seattle University basketball and baseball, and were on the Pirates together in the 50s. And then little did I know there are literally hundreds of father and son pairs and brother pairs, hundreds and hundreds. So I've collected many of those cards, most of them raw. But my son also bought me these of one of the 4-generation father and sons and brothers. Here is Ray Boone, Bob Boone, Aaron Boone, and Brett Boone from my hometown, Mariners. Also, as part of that set, I've collected Mel Stottlemyre, who's a great pitcher with the Yankees and pitching coach for many teams, including the Mariners, I believe. So I started collecting these as well, part of my father and son collections. The other collection I've done is to collect from my favorite childhood player, Richie Ashburn. So I got his rookie card, sort of in the run over by a truck division, similar to my other vintage cards. But I've got a whole run of Richie. Here's just a few of them. I have all his major cards and even some post-playing career cards. And then finally, what I've been doing recently as well, besides for staying on with father and sons, is collecting the first black baseball players in Major League Baseball. So I intend to get them all in PSA or SGC. My son gave me this one for Christmas, which got me thinking. I have many cards just raw, but I thought, maybe I'll get them all in graded format. So I'll either send these in or buy graded ones. So these are the first players to play in the major leagues. Of course, Jackie Robinson in 1947. Larry Doby was a couple of months later in 1947. He was the second player. Hank Thompson was the third player, actually broke in with the St. Louis Browns. Was the first black player for St. Louis Browns, and then he and Monty Irvin were the first black players for the Giants. And here's a card of the Giants. And then Willard Brown was the fourth player to break into Major League Baseball, but he doesn't have a playing day card that I can find yet. And then Dan Bankhead was also a Dodger, and he was the fifth Major League player. And then I've been collecting those players, black players from each of the Major League teams, the first ones. And here is Tom Alston, who was the first black player with the St. Louis Cardinals. Anyway, that's my collecting story in brief, laid out here, and wish you well, Eric, and And I hope you get many more subs and enjoy looking at this video and the others the folks have created. Thanks again. Y'all take care now. Bye.